Okay, so we're going to move right along to our next presenter, our third presenter, and then, as Andrea mentioned, we are going to have a Q&A. I want to say hello to the Hispanic American Institute that's represented here by a few gentlemen, Bruce Young Candelaria and Nader Acevedo, as well as the Chelsea Chamber of Commerce with Sergio Jaramillo, who are also here, who is also here. Okay, so our next three are three bankers, and there's no joke, there are three bankers. I didn't mean one though. Where's Alana? That was you all this time in front of me?
It was.
I didn't know. Okay, great. So I know some stuff about them, but I'm going to put you on the spot here in a second. Because first I found out a little bit about Sean Burke. Sean Burke, he's a commercial loan officer with the Middle Market Corporate Banking Group at East Boston Savings Bank. His experience incorporates CRE, CNI, nonprofit, and SBA lending at both large and small banking institutes. So he grew up in Durham, New Hampshire. So we have Durham, New Hampshire, and we have, is it Havana? And Havana, Cuba, and where did you go?
New York.
New York. So we're not even going to count yours then. Cuba and New Hampshire here. He is a big golf guy, I guess. I'm just guessing because I said, what's your favorite movie? And he said, Caddyshack. And I said, what's your favorite athlete? He said, Tiger Woods. So I'm guessing you like golf. Sean, if you could come up here. Give him a round of applause, please. He was waiting for the applause. And then I meet, so there's 3 Cubans in the room, right? That's another joke, by the way. Adnai, Alberto, and Alberto. So that's the Cuban community of Massachusetts. You just met us. There's 3 of them. The rest are in Miami. Adnai Mendez was born in Cuba. He's a branch manager now, vice president at East Boston Savings Bank since January of 2015. He is in charge of more than 250 million in deposits for over 400 households. And his favorite movie, which totally surprised me, was The Godfather. And he actually has an impression of the Cuban Godfather he may share with us at the end of his presentation. So if we're lucky, we're going to get a Cuban Godfather impression today, this morning. And last but not least is Alana Morris. She is a bilingual loan consultant for Accion East. She uses her broad knowledge of culture, business, and finances to help entrepreneurs throughout New England and with access to capital and business counseling. I know many of several of her clients. So congrats. What's your all-time favorite movie?
I don't. I'll get back to you.
She's going to get back to us with all time favorite. So who's going to go first? Do you guys have an order or it's okay? So sorry. So you have slides? Okay.
Yeah.
So the bankers.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, so I always have a really hard time because first of all I have to say, how do you pronounce your name? What does it mean? It's it's always a question that I get. The second one is from Cuba. What do you know about banking? I guess that's always a challenge. But I did want to talk about the East Boston Savings Bank, particularly here in East Boston and in the Boston community. And I wanted to talk to small businesses about why the idea of having a small community bank is a good idea. I worked for a while for a bigger bank. I'm so happy that I made the transition to a smaller bank, especially for small businesses, because I feel like there is a lot of value. Mostly it's personal value and community value, and that's something that I'm really proud of to be part of. So the factors to consider when choosing a bank, I always say about online banking and ATMs, and most banks have that. Branch locations, of course, are very important. Customer service, but I did like the financial stability and company reputation. It's always really difficult. I think that number 3 after the name and the bank is how to defend a bank. It's always a difficult argument, but the company reputation for East Boston Savings Bank, for example, it's very involved in the community. We do help a lot of small businesses to get access to cash and cash management and other things. But I also like the innovation, technology, and information security. And I think that this is mostly one of the aspects of choosing a bank. But there is not a lot of difference between a small bank and a big bank when it comes to these features. But the second part, I do think that this is where a smaller community bank can make an impact. one thing is, are they familiar with your clients? Do they know who your clients are? Most of the times, if you go to a bigger institution, it is very difficult to gauge that because the demand is usually driven by the size of your business. So I feel like the smaller business segment gets a little bit forgotten. So do they also know your cash flow cycle? Very important. If you have a small business, sometimes you might sell something that in the winter time, your business might be low in cash. Is the bank familiar with that? Can they help you with the cash flow? That way you keep paying your bills, you keep paying your employees. Do they know you by name? And that's something that I feel like that's a really important, more personal aspect of the small business work. Is like walk into a bank and then they know who you are. They know your name, they know what you do, and do they know the impact that your business has in the community? And that's always a really, really good point, because what happens many times is that we are familiar with the business, but we don't really know what the business does in the community. Knowing that is extremely important, because we know that if the business is hurting, the whole community is. How many employees do they have that live in the community? How can we help you stay as being part of the community and helping other people in the community? The other thing is cash management solutions, and this is a little bit more complex. As the business grows from small business to a medium-sized business, in many occasions we need cash management solutions, and that's for a lot of the businesses that can make like deposits on demand, and how to do ACH if we're going to charge other clients, wire origination, wire transfers and ACH originations, and then payroll and merchant services, which most small businesses are having more and more. And this is something that we have a really good variety of products to help our clients. And then lastly, before I let Sean talk about the commercial banking aspect of the bank, I think that building personal credit to help your business is extremely important. It's very similar to the health plan. Like, nobody really, when they have a conversation, they leave and they don't really understand, they have more questions. It's the same for credit. I think that is Isaac, I think that is the name of the person that established the credit bureaus and the fair credit, and I don't really understand most of the times what is good and what is bad for your credit, and how does it affect you. I feel like you need to go to MIT and get a PhD in economics to be able to explain this. I cannot explain it, but we do offer something called credit builders, and I wanted to tell you briefly about credit builders. On many occasions, business clients, they want to get access to credit, but then they don't have credit. Or they have credit, but they went to college and they got 5 credit cards and they didn't know what to do with them, and now they have a credit score that is not ideal. So we have something called Credit Builder, and the Credit Builder helps the client and then the business at the same time in making better credit. And of course, everything is related later on. If you have good credit, then your access to cash is better, and your chances of getting a lower interest rate loan is better, which means that then you can get bigger loan and then you can expand easier. The other thing is that we offer secure and collateral credit. So on many occasions we have, we don't want to affect the cash flow of the business, and then we need a loan, but we cannot touch the money that we have in savings or in reserves, and this is something that we use as well. And lastly is the overdraft protection and lines of credit. Many businesses, when I was talking about do banks and bankers and the managers, do they know what your business does? Do they know how your business operates? In many occasions when the cash flow changes, then we need some kind of line of credit that can cover for that period of time that our small business is going to have less sales or less demands for products. So that's also something that we do at East Boston Savings Bank. I always have like probably one of the most boring parts of the presentation, because about banking is nothing exciting, but it's really essential, I feel, in terms of credit. A good community bank. If you guys have any questions, we have 31 locations and growing, and we even have a branch on wheels. If anybody has questions about that, they can ask me later on, but we have a branch on wheels that goes places, and it's really, really fun. But anyways, if you have any questions about banking, this would be your time. Okay, so I'm just going to pass the baton to Sean. Thank you.
Thanks, guys, for coming. What I'm going to talk about today is sort of pulling back the curtain, I guess, on what we do as bankers in terms of the lending process. Some people think that it's kind of mysterious and stuff, and hopefully we can demystify that a little bit. What I do specifically is work with businesses and nonprofits in the community. We provide loans to those businesses to help them grow. These are the type of different business loans that we generally provide businesses.
Sean, I'm going to need a quick microphone lesson.
For sure. Can I put it up like this?
Yeah, sure. It's right there.
All right.
As close to the mouth as you can. It's in the back of the room, it's actually kind of hard to hear. So.
I've got a 3-month-old at home who didn't want to sleep last night, so I'm running a little low on sleep. So bear with me through this if you don't mind. But, these are the type of loans that generally banks are going to offer. Purchase of refinance of real estate, that's going to be the #1 type of loan that our small community banks do, and help provide equity into the business. I've worked with so many businesses who have purchased the real estate 20 years, 10 years later, said that it's the best investment the business has ever made. The business breaks even, but they've got equity now because they've been purchasing and it's gone to their pocket instead of to the lease. Equipment loans, fairly obvious there. Revolving and asset-based lines of credit. My partner talked about the lines of credits and the need for lines of credit. I think it's extremely important that your business sits down with the banker and understands your business. I've seen too many times where businesses have taken out lines of credit, use them improperly or not as they should be used, and unfortunately there can be some pain down the road if the lines aren't used properly. They're used for equity instead of short-term working capital needs. Buyout of a partner, if you've got that crazy uncle that's part of the business and you're trying to buy him out, that's another use of proceeds for loans. Business acquisition, you're looking to buy a business that's been established, that's another easy loan for us to put together. Term loans for specific purposes. So if you have a contract or there's a 3-year contract, you need to buy some vans in order to service the contract, another easy loan for the bank to put together. So we talked a little bit about the different type of loans. This is how the bank underwrites and what we look at as bankers in order to determine approval. These are the 5 C's of lending. They're not really rocket science here. They let me do this, so I'm going to go over them quick. It's character. Again, my partner here talked about the business's relationship with the bank. I can't tell you enough how your relationship with your branch manager at the bank really can help in determining approval. If it's sort of a borderline type of credit transaction, if you've got a strong relationship with the bank, and that good track record, that goes an awful long way, especially at East Boston. Capacity, that's cash flow. That's the #1 item that the bank's going to look at in order to determine approval. That's what pays back the loans is cash flow, and we want to determine if the business has had a history of being able to service its debts. Capital, that's your down payment. How much money do you have to throw at the project? There's different levels depending on what type of loan you're looking at. A real estate transaction only requires 10% down if you're using an SBA product. Equipment purchases, similar 20% down type of a transaction, or 100% financing if it's tied to a specific project. Collateral, what does the business have to pledge against the loan? And then the conditions, that's basically the economy. Economy is pretty good right now, so accessing loans is fairly easy to do. Industry is also another portion of the conditions. You can look at like the taxi medallions in Boston for a long time. You could finance taxi medallions, and it was a great loan, but over the last couple of years, you know, the Lyfts and the Ubers of the world have come in, and nobody can figure out how much to value a taxi medallion at because they don't know what they're worth. So it's hard to get a loan in that industry right now. I made like a small checklist here. If you are a business owner or a nonprofit, if you take this home with you, I've even, I uppercased, bolded, and underlined the last piece here. Contact a trusted accountant. That's, if you're going to take away anything from this couple of minutes of my presentation, make sure to have a good accountant. Or same goes for a lawyer as well. Putting the books together properly for the bank is probably one of the most important pieces to the whole financial package. The bank's going to use tax returns for the business personally. Most of the loans are guaranteed personally. Nonprofits are obviously not guaranteed personally, but you'll need tax returns personally if you are a business. Customer list, AP, AR, aging, all of these things the accountant can help you put together, put in a nice package, and deliver to your branch manager at East Boston Savings that you have a great relationship with. So, again, I can't tell you enough how much having a trusted accountant helps really put everything together for everybody. So that's all I have. Any questions we'd be happy to answer now or offline. Hey, thanks a lot.
Okay, so to round things up, we're gonna have Alana come up here, and hopefully she's had time to think about her movie. That's what I'm waiting for.
Okay, I don't know if I wanna use this. Let me know if I need it.
You're from New York.
Yes, from
Yeah,
New
yeah,
York.
yeah.
She's from
Okay.
New York, she doesn't need it.
So thank you so much, everyone, for having me here today. I'm really excited to be here. I think it's really important, that not only are we speaking to the business owners in the community, but all the other partner organizations. We're all working together to make sure that we're fulfilling the needs of small business owners in the community. And that's a lot of what we do at Accion. We are a nonprofit microfinance organization, and in so doing, we do a lot of business loans, but we also do a lot of technical assistance. We do a lot of counseling, a lot of workshops, a lot of one-on-one mentorship, and a lot of connection making. So, I learned a lot today. I'm really excited that I have a couple of ideas in the works of, where I can send my clients to for additional help, so thank you. Accion has been around for about 25 years. We operate nationwide. I personally am the loan consultant for New England. We have offices in Boston, New York, Orlando, Miami. We just opened one in Jacksonville. So we're constantly expanding, and we're constantly expanding the types of loans and assistance that we do as well. Our main goal as a microfinance institution is to fulfill a gap that we saw in the market that banks and traditional financing institutions were not fulfilling. So there are many barriers to traditional capital, little or no credit history. If a client has a 0 credit score and no negative repayment history, we can give them their first loan. Maybe similar to your credit builders, I want to learn more about that. But we do loans for people that have no credit history. It's a small loan, but it's a start. We also have a very low minimum credit score, so our minimum for taking on a loan is 575, which many of you may know is on the lower scale, but on top of that, we'll also help you with your credit. I'll sit down with people and describe to them their credit report, how to make it better, little tips and tricks. So there are many ways that we help with that. Minimal financial documentation. This is something we see a lot with small startup businesses. A lot of them are operating very informally. Our goal is to not only accept that not all businesses operate formally, but to also teach you how to start depositing money into a bank. So in many ways, we're kind of that bridge, and we want to make people bankable. I had a great client recently who was he was doing purchasing cars at auctions, fixing them and reselling them, and he had nothing in the bank, and I asked him for information, and he sent me a handwritten profit and loss statement. And I said, okay, we'll give you a loan now, but you have to start depositing all your money, and he did it. To me, that's a success story. That's someone who really had a dream, who was a startup business, and he's actually making strides to make himself a more established business. Small capital needs. A lot of institutions don't want to work with small loans. We love them. So the bulk of our loans are below $50,000. Our average is about a $10,000 loan. I've done loans for $1,000. I've done loans for $15,000. So it doesn't really matter what you need. We're going to work with you. We also do larger loans. We just started doing SBA Community Advantage loans, and we actually just dispersed our first Community Advantage loan. I'll talk about that more later. We also work with a lot of high-risk industries. So a lot of food and beverage is considered very risky. We love food and beverage as well. I know we spoke a little bit about that earlier. So we like to take risks where other people don't. Transportation's another risky one. And we also have great programs for food and beverage. We work directly with Sam Adams. We have this great program called Brewing the American Dream. All of our clients who get a loan with us, who are in food and beverage, get automatically enrolled to work with mentors from Sam Adams. They get advertising, pitch competition access. So it's a lot of great abilities. Another barrier to traditional capital is under 2 years of business. So a lot of times lending institutions want to see that you have a couple of years of taxes. We'll give you a loan from day zero. If you have a dream, you could show us that you have some source of income to support loan payments. You have a business plan. We will give you your first loan to get your business started. And then hopefully, eventually, 2 years, 3 years down the line, we could send you to the bank for additional financing. There are many ways you can fund your business. Obviously, friends, family, and crowdfunding are great, and I think it was mentioned earlier as well. It's a great option, but then there comes the point where you realize you don't have credit. You got a lot of loans from friends and family, but then you get to the point where you really actually need larger financing, and you don't have that credit established. So it's a good way to start, but it's not necessarily the best way to continue. A lot of people start their business with credit cards. Great, they're very easy to get, but we all know they're very tricky. They kind of loop you in and then end up charging you very high interest rates. Our loans are somewhere in the middle. Our interest rates are better than credit cards, but not as good as banks. And we really see ourselves as the bridge between the very beginning of your business and then the point where you can go to a bank for an affordable loan with whatever terms. And then on the other end is equity investments. A lot of businesses may not get to that point, but it's definitely an option if you are going to continue growing at a large scale. So these couple of our loan products, on the left side you have the startup loans, so that's the very beginning from 0 to 6 months. We want to see that you're home-based or incubator-based. Incubators are fantastic. And like I said, we want to see outside source of income, business plan, and we can give you your first loan to get you started. Terms are from 6 to 60 months. Interest rates $8.99 to $15.99. And our startup loans go up to, actually this is a little bit old, our startup loans now go up to $12,000. Sometimes if you have collateral, we can maybe even stretch it, but we really like to start small. A lot of times we'll be able to start you small, give us 6 months of on-time payments, and we'll refinance your loan, get you more funding, keep you growing. Our general microloan product is our all-encompassing product, goes up to $50,000. Same term, same interest, and then Community Advantage is our new SBA loan. We just dispersed the first Community Advantage loan in New England, so it's really exciting. We were also just determined to be the #1 SBA microlender in Massachusetts, so we're really excited about that. It's a very different loan product. It's a little bit larger. Our interest rate is prime plus 4.25, which is about 7.25 right now. And another great thing about this is that we also work with startups. So it's, we have this smaller startup loan that goes up to 12,000, but now we could do startup loans for a bigger enterprise that is looking for more startup capital. With that, we just want to see that you have your own capital injection. And we will probably ask for collateral for that one as well. For our microloans, we don't require collateral. Sometimes we'll ask for a cosigner, but we're really flexible. Our goal is really to be flexible with the businesses that we're serving, make sure that we're helping everyone. The loan uses vary widely, working capital operating. We do some debt consolidation. Another great product that we have, I know I mentioned loans for people with zero credit. We also do loans for immigrants who do not have a social security number. So you do not need to have a social security number to take out a loan with us, which is great. We'll give you a loan based on your tax ID number. So it's a really great additional product that we have. Required documents for under 12,000. We want to see an ID. Your personal bank statements, we want to see that you have cash flow to support loan payments. A business plan, proof of outside income if you have it. Your business definitely has to be registered. And we want to see that you're obviously licensed if you need licensing. Once we go above 12,000, we'll probably ask for profit and loss and tax returns. Once again, we're fairly flexible with the type of documentation that we ask for. I've had people who say, well, I don't have bank statements, I use PayPal or I use Uber, and that's where I make my money, and people will send me Uber printouts. Like I said earlier, I got a handwritten profit and loss and I submitted to the underwriters and it got approved. So we have a lot of ways, we take a lot of risks, but we give really good loans. Our delinquency rate is about 3%. So we give really good loans that people are able to pay back and hopefully expand their business. I think that's it. So my information, thank you so much. Does anyone have any questions? No? Okay. Well, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Alana. You didn't tell me what your favorite movie was. Favorite TV show? Do you watch TV?
I